Okay, so if you're a manager or you're hoping to become one, you know there are literally thousands of books you could read. But here's the thing. There's only one that the absolute legends of Silicon Valley, we're talking Mark Zuckerberg, Ben Horowitz, treat as their actual Bible. Today, we're going to break down Andrew Grove's High Output Management. But this isn't just a summary. We're going to get into why this book is basically an essential operating manual for anyone who's serious about getting things done. Let's start with the big problem it solves. This right here, this is the question that haunts almost every manager in the modern world. I mean, think about it. If you're not physically bolting something together, what is your output? How do you even know if you're doing a good job? It's this super ambiguous and honestly pretty stressful question. And it's the exact question that Andrew Grove decided to answer with the precision of an engineer.
To really get this book, you have to understand the man behind it. Andy Grove wasn't some academic in an ivory tower. This was a guy who fled post-war Hungary as a refugee, landed in America with next to nothing, got himself a PhD in chemical engineering, and went on to become the third employee and then the CEO of Intel. His motto, "Let chaos reign, then reign in chaos," just sums him up perfectly. It's all about embracing the messy, unpredictable reality of business, but then applying rigorous, logical systems to tame it.
So, did his systems actually work? Well, let's look at the numbers. During his time as CEO, Intel's yearly revenue grew from just over $2,000 to nearly $21 billion. And no, that is not a typo. This isn't some abstract theory. These are principles that were forged in the fires of one of the most competitive industries on the planet. The results? They pretty much speak for themselves.
So what was Grove's big, revolutionary idea? It's actually incredibly simple, but it's also profound. He said you have to apply the same principles and discipline of a manufacturing production line to the abstract work of management. He basically argued that business, when you strip it all down, is an engineering problem. Your goal as a manager is to build and run a system that produces consistent, high-quality results, and it doesn't matter if you're making microchips or you're running a marketing team. This slide right here, this is probably the most important formula in the entire book. A manager's output is not their personal to-do list. It's not the number of emails they send or the meetings they sit in. It is the total output of their team plus the output of any other teams they influence. Let that sink in. Your job isn't to do the work. Your job is to make the entire system more effective.
To make this all feel a bit more real, Grove uses this brilliant, simple analogy. He asks you to imagine you're the operations manager for a tiny breakfast factory. Your only product is a 3-minute soft-boiled egg, some buttered toast, and a cup of coffee. The trick is, every single component has to be perfect, and it all has to be delivered at the exact same time. So how do you design a system to pull that off every single time without losing money? What seems like a really simple task actually reveals the 3 core operations of any production system. First, you've got your process. These are the physical or chemical changes like boiling the egg or toasting the bread. Second, you've got assembly. That's putting all the pieces together on the plate. And third, testing. A quick quality check to make sure the toast is actually brown and the coffee still hot. Your job as the manager is to figure out the limiting step, which is the egg, because it takes the longest, and then build your entire process around that one critical element.
All right, so once you start seeing your team as a production system, the very next question is, well, how do you improve its output without just working more and more hours? The answer is in a concept that Grove called managerial leverage. This is key.
Managerial leverage is basically just a measure of the impact you get from any given managerial activity. You see, some of the things you do have really low leverage, like, say, rewriting a report for one of your team members yourself. But other actions have incredibly high leverage. And Grove points these out specifically. Things like training your team, setting crystal clear objectives, or making one single well-thought-out decision that realigns everybody's work. Think about it. 1 hour of effective training can boost your team's output for hundreds of hours into the future. That is leverage. Now let's dive into one of the most important, and let's be honest, one of the most dreaded, high-leverage activities a manager has, the performance review. Grove spends a huge part of his book on this, giving a super clear, no-nonsense framework to turn these reviews from something painful we all have to do into a genuinely powerful tool for getting better. So why do so many reviews just fail? Grove identified a few really common traps. The biggest one? Surprising the employee. A review should never be a shocking reveal. It should just be a summary of all the feedback you've been giving all along. Other big mistakes are giving mixed messages, being way too general, falling for that recency bias where you only remember the last couple of weeks, or just failing to get input from anyone else.
Now, Grove's critical insight here is to split the review into two totally separate conversations. First, you assess performance. That's backward-looking. What did they accomplish versus what you expected them to accomplish? Then, separately, you evaluate potential. This is forward-looking. Are they growing? Are they getting better, faster? He is super adamant that you can't mix these two. A solid, reliable performer isn't always the person with the highest potential, and you have to be able to talk about both honestly.
So how do you do it right? Grove gives us a really clear process. Number 1, be brutally frank, but always use specific examples. 2, prepare like crazy. That means taking notes all year long. 3, listen. Seriously, let them talk for at least half the time. 4, focus on just a few key areas for them to improve. And 5, gather feedback from their peers and others to get a full picture and remove your own biases.
And this all leads to the ultimate takeaway on performance. The review process isn't just about giving feedback, it's about the actions that come after. As Grove famously said, who you promote is the single most powerful message you send about what your organization truly values. It sets the standard for every single person on the team.
Now, as powerful as this book is, and believe me, it is, it's not a silver bullet. You have to remember it was a product of its time. It came from an engineering-driven culture at a hardware company. So it's really important to look at some of the challenges you might face trying to apply these ideas today.
Okay, so the biggest hurdle is just the sheer discipline this requires. Grove's system is rigorous. I mean, keeping up that level of structured thinking, all the one-on-ones, the detailed prep for reviews, it takes a ton of effort. Also, trying to apply a manufacturing mindset directly to really creative or unpredictable work, like R&D or art, can be tricky. It can feel really restrictive if you don't adapt it thoughtfully.
But even with those hurdles, the book's legacy is just undeniable. Grove's engineering mindset, this relentless focus on clear metrics, on leverage, and on repeatable processes is what basically transformed management from a soft skill into a hard discipline. It is the fundamental DNA of how the most effective tech companies in the world operate today.
And hey, the proof is in the pudding, right? Or in this case, the people who swear by it. We're talking about Mark Zuckerberg at Meta, Brian Chesky at Airbnb, Ben Horowitz at Andreessen Horowitz, and even the legendary coach Bill Campbell, who mentored everyone from Steve Jobs to Jeff Bezos. They all point back to this book as a cornerstone of how they lead.
So I'm going to leave you with a direct challenge. Based on everything we just talked about, I want you to forget your to-do list for just a minute and think about your leverage. What is the single highest leverage thing you can do tomorrow that will multiply your team's output? Maybe it's clarifying a goal that everyone's confused about, or training a team member on a new skill, or finally making that decision everyone's been waiting on. Finding that thing, that is the heart of high output management. If you want to go deeper on this, I put a link to the book and some other resources for you down in the description. And hey, make sure you subscribe for more deep dives into the big ideas that shape how we all work. I'll see you in the next one.